do you know what? I'll bring you up anyway. I forgot that I put myself on mute there. So what?
Did you see me? I'm trying to
Yeah.
no, and I'm like, how do I
actually see
message
that.
them? So
Yeah, I've just seen there, and it was only because I was about to bring you up at that point, and I just seen the mute on there. So we can start from here anyway. So what I was saying there is to anyone that's watching, basically to go and check out your channel. I've watched a couple of them, probably most of them. I've seen the one that you did with the sister in relation to paganism and is Christmas paganism. Obviously, I've seen your debates. And I think you've hosted one debate. I'm not sure if you've hosted more than that, but I've seen definitely one that you've had. And I've said like people should if they've got an interest in this video and they like what they hear from me and such, to check you out, subscribe, and if they've got questions, to just drop some comments in the videos so that they can ask anything outside of this video, because maybe they can learn more about you. Obviously, this channel's this live stream's going to be asking some questions, like kind of some basic and some other ones. But if they want to ask you questions, then go on your channel. So if you want to introduce yourself there, brother.
Yeah, hey guys, my name is Will. I run a YouTube channel and a TikTok called Wilwaukee. I know it's a little bit of a play on word, as you can see by my logo. It is the Milwaukee Tool logo. Basically, the M is just flipped upside down. So I basically do kind of biblical and Jewish apologetics. I am a kind of like a biblical Unitarian, I guess you can kind of label me as. I am a Torah observer. And I just try to bring to light a lot of the controversies and things that don't really add up when you read the Bible. I just try to bring this to light, and I'm totally open for discussion. I definitely whenever I'm live, either on YouTube or on TikTok, I love to bring other people on with different opinions. I'm definitely against echo chambers and things of that matter, or silencing other beliefs. I think everyone should be heard. I think every opinion does matter. At the end of the day, if it does not align with Scripture, it is just, we can't go with it.
Yeah, man. Amen. And again, if anyone's wanting to check out Wilwaukee's channel, just go in the link. If you open up see more, the link is there anyway. So, and again, a lot of good content there. I actually like some of the teachings that you've done there. That just the way that you express yourself. Me, I speak a bit too blunt sometimes, and I can speak a bit too fast. So I think people would actually enjoy your content. So I want to just bring my questions over here, so because I want to make sure that they're actually worded right as well, because sometimes I can speak a little bit too fast. So the first question I wanted to ask was relating to the name Wilwaukee, where you've got that from.
Yeah, actually, do you want to bring that picture up?
Yeah, there you go.
So there we go, guys. So my name is Will. I own and run a plumbing company in Cleveland, Ohio, and as you can see, so this is one of the vans that we got. It's completely just decked out with Milwaukee. I'm a big fan of the power tools. I love the industry, power tools in general, how they have taken the next step to come out with things. I remember when I was an apprentice, when I first started, a lot of the stuff that we had were corded tools, even a lot of the gas powered stuff. And now the technology with batteries is just, it just exploded, and Milwaukee is really leading the way for that. And as you can see by my van here, this is one of the things. It's called Pack Out, where it's a storage system just to make things easier. Just because I remember when I started off, we just had the cases. The cases didn't snap together. We were just thrown into the vans. Here we can organize it all. I'm just a big fan of Milwaukee. They have sent me some stuff. I have gone to some of their tool expos that some of the places have had. So my name is Will, and this is Milwaukee. So just obviously trying to combine my name with one of the things I love is, power tools, Milwaukee, stuff like that. So that's how we get it.
Yeah. I didn't even know it, to be honest. I'm not into power tools personally, but obviously I knew it was relating to that. But I just wanted to know a more in-depth breakdown of it. So I've learned something new there. I was wondering in as well, where you started off doing videos. Was it initially on TikTok, or were you on YouTube before, but you didn't do as much? Like, where was the videos that you started off with, and what made you do start doing the videos?
So I've been a tour observer since August of 2014, and that's when I decided to basically be a tour observer. I read through the entire Bible, and I've just noticed a lot of inconsistencies with the church that I was raised in. I was mostly raised in a Presbyterian church, and through there, I just was like, we should keep these laws. Just tour observance. One of my biggest things was the Trinity. Now, I did not come on YouTube or any type of social media back in 2014 because I consider myself a super old school guy. I'm a blue collar worker. I play cards with friends. I'm very old school. I'm not very technically inclined with technology and stuff like that. So, but actually, what happened was I was on TikTok and I had a lot of friends, preaching and everything, being tour observer, and I followed them and I would comment on videos and stuff. And I came across this one guy, and he was like, Jesus never claimed to be God. Oh, really? John, then, up at the top, John 1:1, John 8:58, John 10:30. And I remember this perfectly because I think this was back in maybe 2019 or 2020. I told my wife, I'm like, look, I'm going to learn how to do this. I don't care how long it takes me. I'm tired of this false, idiotic narrative. And people are not looking at those verses. So I broke down John 1:1, ton theon versus theos, the accusative nominative. I broke down John 8:58, ego I me, where Paul, Peter, Judas, Gabriel call themselves ego I me. So if Jesus is God because he says that, then all those other people have to be God also because they say that. And John 10:30, I and the Father are one. Well, we are also one with Yeshua and the Father. Does that make we are us also God? Of course not. So that was my first video, and that blew up pretty popular. And that's when I really became aggressive, really posting out videos, really going after people with bad doctrine.
Mm. Yeah, that's pretty much similar to how I started off as well. In fact, this is something there that I learned just there, because I thought it was only maybe two people other than Jesus saying that I am. I didn't realize there was that many people actually saying the ego in me. So it is something new. I've learned something new there.
No,
I'm not sure if you want to double on that.
No, on the ego I me.
Yeah, I never knew it was just. I knew that the blind man said ego in me, and I think I've heard like someone else say it. I never knew there was that many people that use the ego in me as well.
I think Paul says it like 5 times. Like it is not even when we look at the Septuagint, even Jacob says it, Abraham says it. It's not a claim to being God. It's just not. And besides, when we look at the Strong's Concordance, it literally means is I have existed before. So what he's just necessarily saying is before Abraham was, or before Abraham came into being, I have existed. Now we can now look at that as, did he exist as the person of Jesus? Did this pre-exist? Was the spirit pre-existent or stuff like this? But when we look at Strong's literally has it as I have existed. Now, what people do is because it can be translated as I am, then they associate that with the Masoretic text of, what is it, Exodus 3:14.
Yeah.
For I am has sent you, but that doesn't even match up because in the Septuagint it's ego I me, it's something else, like I am being. That's what right, yeah. So that doesn't even line up with what he exactly said. It's only part of it. Even when we look at ego I me in the Hebrew, that's not even the correct translation. Ego eimi doesn't translate that to the Hebrew where he says I am.
Mm-hmm.
What it means in the Hebrew is like I have become, or I will become, or I have been, or I will be. That's really what it means. But again, this is part of the Trinitarian philosophy of we're going to find it can be translated as this and it can be translated as this, even though it's a very poor argument. And we're going to keep it this way to make it sound like Jesus is claiming to be the Exodus 3:14 of I am.
Yeah, I've actually looking at that. I've heard a lot of these arguments where they say there's a similarity here, and therefore we'll put that on Jesus because there's similar statements in relation to Jesus. Therefore, he must be Jehovah God. And also looking at the Septuagint, for me, I see I think it's used with Esau as well. That I am, like when he's being asked, "Are you my son?" in relation to Jacob, when he was trying to trick, or was it Jacob trying to trick in relation to showing off his Esau? I think he uses the same kind of wording. Um, yeah, I think a lot of the times Trinitarians do that, so I can see that being your first kind of starting up video, how it would get some traction there. I was wanting to ask you some questions as well, like relating to your YouTube and your TikTok. Again, people should really check out your work because I think yours is more like patient and kind of in there when it comes with like information. There's more information in yours where mine's kind of more specific to arguments with Trinity. So when people are wanting to find out more broken down things, they should definitely go to yours. That I've went to yours in relation to some of the debates you host and such. So the question the first question in relation to your YouTube and TikTok is, what do you think about the social media's discussions that you have had on TikTok and YouTube, and how are you faring across the basically changing from not necessarily leaving TikTok, but like crossing over to YouTube?
I'll just be honest with you. TikTok is really annoying, and it was good at first, kind of helped me get into the social media, and doing stuff like this, making videos, kind of learning how to do it. But what was it? Last week I had 2 videos that were flagged, and it was, oh, you have new strikes, and I appealed them and I won the case. But it's annoying because I get so many notifications that if I don't catch it, I'm going to get strikes on my account, and then I'm going to get shadow banned. I'm already shadow banned, but I won't be able to go on live and stuff like that. And it's really unfortunate. Even now, when I go on other people's lives, like Trinitarian lives, we were talking about the angel of the Lord, and they're like, "Oh, well, the angel of the Lord is literally God because he calls himself God in Exodus 3:4." And I'm trying to explain to them, well, in 3:2, it says the Malach Adonai, or the messenger of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. How can the messenger of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh be Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh? And I'm trying to explain the concept of Shaliah, or agency, to all these people. While I'm trying to explain it, they're talking over me. So then I will naturally talk over them. Like, no, let me finish. I get muted. How rude am I for talking over someone else?
Yeah.
And I literally I clipped the last part of it, and I just said, "Host, you're just getting mad at me because I'm proving you wrong." And well, let's make something out of him, moderators. Let's block him. Yeah. And I get muted and blocked, and it's TikTok is now just becoming an echo chamber of, there can be 9 people on a panel. We'll have 8 people believe in one specific view. We'll bring up one person that disagrees with us. We will all talk over them and yell at them and scream at them, and we'll insult them. Like, I was on a live, and I'm trying to bring up church fathers and how they've contradicted the Trinity and stuff like this, and it turns into a "shut up, Will, you're fat." It's like, look, I don't care if I'm not attractive to you, and I'm not the specific body type that you look for in other men, then I'm sorry. But let's go back to the point here. What do the church fathers say? And that's just what it becomes. So one thing I'm definitely trying to do now is, like, I've made so many videos talking about John 1:1, Acts 10, Acts 15, the Trinity, stuff like this. So with the move now to YouTube is I feel like it's more of a serious platform. People who want to seriously understand concepts and look at concepts, they will go there. TikTok is short little clips just to get people's attention because they don't have a large attention span. For example, I have a video on agency where it's 57 minutes long, so it is a long video, but I define what agency is. I have all primary sources. I show it in the Mishnah, the Talmud, the Midrash. I bring up like 8 examples from the Tanakh. I bring up 4 examples, I think, from the New Testament. I show how Yeshua is the agent of Yud He Vav He. So people who really want to have a good understanding of agency, they will go to YouTube, spend the time maybe on the drive home, on the drive to work, on the drive home from work, maybe before you go to bed. You don't have to watch the whole thing, the whole sitting. But if you really want to know what agency is, and you really want to know, you will take the time to watch it. Here on TikTok, it's kind of like a children's playground. People will just make little stupid videos, and they will, like, if I make a 2-minute video on something, they'll only take out the part that they want to use. They'll attack it on that, and they'll make a little video. Then there's comments, and there's arguing and bickering, and a bunch of childish stuff. So I feel like I'm kind of over that. I love having conversations. I love, if you disagree with me, I would love to hear it. And if I'm wrong on something, I'm wrong. I have no problem with that. But what it turns into is just name calling, yelling and screaming, muting, and we're not going to have that on my TikTok live. Well, okay then.
Yeah, I've noticed the good thing about YouTube as well is if someone does flag your content, actually you can actually defend yourself, and they won't stop you from doing like lives. Wherefore, obviously, TikTok, when someone doesn't agree with what you're saying, they can just put up that, and then you can't do a live stream for however long until they fix it. Or if they go against you, you've got like until like 8 days or whatever it is. Wherefore, YouTube, they'll let you continue making them. They might take that one video down just until you defend, then they'll put it back up. But TikTok is a little bit weird with that, and I agree totally with you. I mean, I've been banned in relation to just showing things in relation to what Muslims believe in their own hadiths and stuff. Then all of a sudden I get flagged, and I'm like, well, I've got to wait until I think it was like 10 days actually in relation to that. And again, like you were talking about the video on agency, that was another one of the videos that I really liked, and that you're putting in like a very in-depth thing. You don't necessarily, I mean, they've put a little bit with TikTok now, they've put it up to 10 minutes, but it's not as kind of in-depth as you can go as with YouTube. And again, people should check that video out because I agree wholeheartedly with everything that was said within that, with the Shaliach and everything. So if you want to respond to that before I move on to the next question, you're more welcome to.
No, yeah, that's one thing that a lot of people just don't know. And I feel like churches don't talk about agency. And I honestly feel like this might be 2 reasons why. One, because a lot of churches are just kind of like, believe Jesus is the Messiah, and that's all you need to do. The Old Testament, it's hard to read. The New Testament, Paul seems to kind of contradict sometimes. Just believe. It's basically, it's super watered down. I feel like even the people who I do meet, who are a little more diligent and want to study more, there's really not a hunger to learn it. When we look at agency, especially, it is so important, especially in like back then. Even in the New Testament, there is where Paul is on the way, right? He looks up and he sees, Yeshua, and Yeshua says, "For why are you persecuting me?" Was he really persecuting him? No. But why does he say, "Were you persecuting me?" It's because he sent out people, right? Yeshua did. Now they are representatives of him. So if anyone is mean to one of his disciples, you're being mean to Yeshua, right? Or if you're persecuting them. So that's why he can claim that you're persecuting me because you went after my disciples, even though he didn't literally go after it. Or we look at the centurion. In Matthew, it says that the centurion came to him, but in Luke, it says the servant of the centurion went to him. Why did Luke say the servant of the centurion? Because Luke's a doctor. He's going to be very specific in his writings. Why does Matthew say it was a centurion? Because he understood shaliach. So he understood what agency was. And him being a Jewish person, he's going to say this. Even in the book of John, and I'll kind of wrap this up, it says that Yeshua was baptizing people. However, in John chapter 4, it then says, well, it wasn't literally Yeshua baptizing. It was the disciples baptizing.
Yeah, so, it's like, just to add one quick thing to that, it's kind of like the how it talks of the congregation as the body of Christ. Therefore, they're representing the literal body as a person, even though they're not necessarily literally the person of Jesus, in which actually goes in alignment with how you're persecuting me, even though they're literally, Paul was literally persecuting the believers themselves.
Yeah. And I feel like this is so important because, again, this argument I hear all the time is, well, how well the text actually says it was this person or the centurion, or if we read something in the Old Testament that Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh will do something, but then we see that Yeshua did it. This is proof that Yeshua is Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. And again, that's incorrect because we see agency. It's very clear in the Old Testament, and even especially when it transfers over to the New Testament. I love to show people that to have them get a better mindset of, it's not being literal. Like even when we say we are on Mother Earth, is the Earth a mother? Is the Earth a female? No, it's not. We are using it, as a description of what the Earth is. That's just it, but it's almost like they're picking and choosing what they want to take as literal just to fit their doctrine when it doesn't actually fit the data.
Yeah, I think before I just move on to the next question, I think a lot of people, I don't think they do it like purposefully. I think they've not necessarily been taught, especially within like Trinitarian churches, in relation to in depth on agency. They'll have like a little or messenger, and that's it. I think it's just due to ignorance that they say these things. But when they realize and they come against, say, people like yourself and myself who know agency, it can be a little bit like, I didn't realize this, I'm out of my depth. It's kind of like they're drowning, they're trying to keep it afloat. So I think most people are seeing this in like ignorance rather than actually, I think, like they're doing it to be disingenuous. It's only people that are studied like in this, but they still continue to think that, so I'll move on to the next one. What I've seen from some of your live streams, you seem to have a bit of a following already in relation to like the people engaging with your content, from moving over as well from like the TikTok to YouTube, because I've seen a couple of the people who are on your TikTok also on the YouTube and interact with your live streams. So, Genwood, how do you feel about those who did take the shift over from TikTok to YouTube? How do you feel about those and how they interact with you, and how you're finding that change?
I mean, honestly, I'm extremely blessed. Everyone who follows me on YouTube and TikTok, I look at them in Hebrew we say mishpacha, or basically like family. Some of these people, like I've met in person. I've met friends from Alabama, from Tennessee, from Michigan, all over around the states, and it's been such a huge blessing to actually like meet these people, have fellowship with them. Florida too, and it's awesome, because I really wanted to connect with people. Because when I first kind of came into this, how old was I? 22? No, 20. 20. Yeah, I was 20 right before my 21st birthday. So I was by myself. I didn't have anyone to have Passover with. I didn't have really anyone to do anything. So now it's like that I'm actually meeting people. A lot of people seem to like my content. I'm I'm very open. I'm kind of like a family guy. I like to, say hi to people and interact. And yeah, it's so cool. And to have people follow me to YouTube. So like I know we'll get into this a little later. I moderated a debate, and I had a lot of my friends like come over. Now it's really nice, and a lot of my friends are supporting me that I've met on social media, and I feel really blessed. I really feel like the Father is blessing me by giving me a family, just because I don't have a lot of people here who I can really have a Bible discussion with, and I feel like a lot of people have told me like they feel intimidated by me because we'll talk about the Bible and I'll hit them with da 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 da, and they're just like, oh shoot, I didn't know you.
Mhm.
Like, I just wanted a yes or no, and you gave me a yes, comma, but a 20-minute explanation, and now I have a million more questions. So I'm extremely blessed. I'm grateful. People are coming over. I'm happy people like me. I'm happy people look at me as a knowledgeable person, because at the end of the day, I'm just a dumb plumber. So for me to have a respect from a group of people on social media, I think is just completely awesome.
That's blown my mind. Just because I know exactly what it's like. In England, we've got a community. I've got like a clip on here which I've like kind of blurred a bit because obviously privacy. But it was like Passover, and I know it's very hard in relation to kind of doing the congregation. Especially, it must be even harder within America, the size of America compared to little old Britain. But we meet up on the feasts as well, and I know how that must feel with that like kind of family gathering when you get to see people that you consider your family, and especially when it doesn't like clearly you're from different walks of life that are coming from different places. It must be like mind blowing from especially from the American side because it's a bigger country than England is. Like it still blows my mind that it's like Britain's like that compared to America and just those coming together. So um, I was actually wanting to move on to a point. I should have put this in the different question parts, but it's technically about your shorts. So you've got some crazy shorts up on your channel, which I find personally funny. And the I think oh, um, on Trinitarianism and such, and where do you get the like ideas from half of them? Because like I'm not that good with half these short ideas.
Man, so I was wild as a child. I was like quite the partier, and it's really funny um, because I watched a lot of South Park. South Park was my religion, so I think of a lot of these ideas. But honestly, like I also feel like I have a sense of humor, and I love doing it. So the one guy who I had on, and he's my friend. His name is Bible Inspired Truth. His name is MJ. He's I disagree with him completely, but I consider him a friend of mine. He gives this illustration um, about how if comparing Gentiles when they hear the law that they Gentiles now put themselves under the law. He says, "Well, I'm an Astros fan, and I was there in the stands when they won it because I heard that they won it. I get to run on the field." And I clipped the one part of the oh, what is it, the Irish guys are like, "Oh, Patrick, that's a bad analogy, Patrick. Yeah, Patrick." Yeah, I just think of it. It just comes to my mind. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos. I've seen a lot of the old school finds and stuff like this. So when I see something in real life, it clicks with me. Or like I just did one where I don't really want to do the work today. I don't really want to
Yeah.
do the work today. And I'm like, man, this is like what Protestants say, where, especially like the Calvinists, when they're like sola fide, like faith alone, where I just have to believe in Jesus and I'm good. I can do whatever I want. I can't lose my salvation. But James, especially James chapter 2, talks about the works to prove your faith. So the Protestants are like, I don't want to do the work. I just want
Yeah.
to So I have a lot of fun with it. I poke, um, you know, a lot of people do find it hilarious, and I've been asked, before by multiple people, like, how do you come up with this? And it's just, I see it, and it like reminds me of like, oh, hey, like this thing over here or that, and it just comes to mind. And I'm glad that TikTok has kind of shown me how to do stuff with the green screen and everything like that. I just do it, so it's funny.
I like them, especially the ones that you just mentioned in relation to the Patrick. That's what's it? Not civilianism. I can't remember, but
That's Arianism, Pat.
it's
Oh yes.
Arianism.
His name. I don't want to promote his channel. I extremely dislike this guy. But he's a Calvinist, and it's hilarious because he came on a live with another Trinitarian. He loaded it up against me, and they're explaining the Trinity, right? And they're like, the Trinity is like the sun, and how the sun gives off rays. That's literally heresy. So I clipped the part where he's like, oh, Patrick, that's Arianism, Patrick. Arianism? Yes, Patrick. You can't say that the sun and then the rays are part of the Trinity, because the suns and the rays are creations of the sun. So now you're saying that Jesus is the creation. That's heresy. And it's like you guys are so dumb. You guys are so dumb. If this is a salvation issue, yet you're using this to promote the idea of the Trinity, yet you're committing heresy of your own council that said this is heresy and this is wrong, of course I'm going to make fun of it, because you're contradicting yourself.
Well, I think they did a lot worse, the Trinitarians in history, like the Unitarians and such. Like, if you disagree with them, they did horrific things. I'll not go any further into the horrific things they did. But the only thing I can see in relation to the shorts as well, I think that would be considered like funny from my side. There's some things in relation to Unitarianism from The Simpsons, where they're in the church and they're like, look over there, and it's like, what is it? A Unitarian? But yeah, I was more of a Simpsons person rather than the other one. But I didn't even watch half of those, and like just watching some clips on YouTube, I came across them. So I'm kind of see where you're getting like some of the ideas, and you're like, I've got to put that in there. So okay, now we're getting on to your belief. Who and what is Jehovah God to you?
So, I mean, that's kind of like a loaded question. Honestly, I'll try to answer this as best as I can. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is the creator of the universe. He is the Father. He is the God. And nothing compares to him. Nothing. It's just the Father. All things come from him. It's his master plan, and it's his world. And like, as the scripture says, he shares his platform with no one. It is only him. He's not a Trinity. He's not a Binitary. There's not multiples of him. He did not have a God himself. He is the one and true one. He's everything that the Jewish people, and I'll say some Christians, look up to. He is the one true God. Even Paul says, I think that the best in 1 Corinthians 8:5-6, where like there's many gods and many lords, but to us there's only one God, the Father, whom through all things are. It's very specific. It doesn't get any other than that. Plus, even going back to Exodus chapter 3, he says that like, my name is I will be or become what I will be or become. So whatever we need that God to be for us, he will. And only he can do that, right? Only he can become something or provide something. No other thing can. So I would say that.
I agree with that. I believe that I know the answer to this. So this question, it is. I just went down there. But for the viewers, do you believe that the Torah still stands, and could you expound on what the Torah is to you?
Yeah, the Torah still stands. It's insane to me how and really disrespectful. If Paul was here today, he would have written us many letters to the Christian, Orthodox, and especially the Protestant churches of how messed up everything is. So yes, when we look at the Torah is eternal. When we look at the midrash here, it's literally expounded upon concerning Proverbs 8, how God used the Torah and through the Torah created everything. And even the rabbis have argued about this and basically said how God is like the master engineer or the master architect, and he used the Torah as the workman, right? As the master workman, the master crafter to go out and do this. And me as a plumber, I totally relate to this because I look at plans and diagrams of what the architect wants me to build, and I go out and actually do it. So in a way, I am acting as the Torah to go out and complete it, while Hashem, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, gives me the orders of what I should do. When we look at I talked about it a little bit. I think a lot of people don't understand how Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh works. He's not just a god, right? He's not just a god like Moloch, as Baal, as any story that we read throughout the Tanakh, or any God that we see in real life now. He is a father. He is a loving father who gives us rules to follow to better ourselves. Too many people believe that the sacrifice of Yeshua was that we can eat ham sandwiches. And it blows my mind because people literally, I mean that as a joke, but I'm being serious too, because people will argue, well, the Torah is gone, so now I get to eat like ham sandwiches. Like seriously, like that I can eat bacon now. Like that's the whole sacrifice of Messiah, so that you can eat whatever you want. I mean, you could do that already. Go out, he gives us the free will to. So the Torah, though, is the rules and instructions to help better our lives, to help maintain us, sustain us, for us to draw close to Hashem, to Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, so we can be, in a sense, echad with him in that. So it absolutely still stands. Even Yeshua talks that not the smallest letter. So in the Hebrew Bible, in the alphabet, the letter Yud, it looks like an apostrophe. That's the smallest letter. It will not be taken away until heaven and earth, until the new heaven and new earth come. We are still living in this. It still stands. It's as simple as that. I know people will cherry pick certain words and verses to try to pull a contradiction. But it really shows your heart condition, because at the end of the day, you say you worship God and you want to do everything for him. Well, how do you show you love him? By following his commandments, right? Yeshua says this in 1 John. If you love me, keep my commandments. It's that simple. Can we keep them all perfectly 24/7? No. Are we going to stumble? Yes, we are. But again, we have a gracious Father who is God, who has no problem calling us back, calling us to repent. And if we do, we'll be in his good graces. That's all. That's all.
We see that in 1 John 5, verse 1 through to 3. This is the love of God, to keep his commandments and they're not burdensome. And that's also reiterated in Deuteronomy 13, where it talks about the false prophet and God's testing you to see whether you love him and keep hold of his statutes. We see it obviously also in alignment with Mark 12, verse 28 to 34, when Jesus is saying the Shema, the greatest commandment is the Shema. Then he goes to love Jehovah your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. And all of these things are clearly aligned, that how you show your love to God is that. And I wanted to tap on something that you were saying, because like God, essentially to me, God is like what you were saying as well. Like he is the Father, and if we are children, while we're in this physical flesh, we have the Torah on us, and he will correct us. So we'll go through things on this physical flesh that's going to be corrected, whether it's illnesses because of breaking Torah, whether it's let's say just eating something that's horrible for our body, we'll get ill. It's a way of like correcting us. He's not wanting us to die the spiritual death, but the physical death is a way that he corrects us so that we have that eternal life. That's just what I think. I'm not sure if you want to respond to that, or I can move.
And no, I mean you're exactly right. Look, I got two little kids. I have a 3-year-old son named Elijah, and I have a 2-year-old daughter named Salamia. And I give them rules and directions to follow so that they don't hurt themselves. Like one of their things is they have a one-piece pajama set, and on their little footies they wore off the rubber. So I have tile in the kitchen. So I have like my living room, my kitchen, and then the dining room, and then like a hallway that goes over. So sometimes they'll be goofy and they'll run through, and I tell them don't run because they'll slip and fall. What happens? They'll slip and fall, they'll hit their head, and then they start crying. They come to me and I tell them, well, I gave you a rule to not run and trip. It's not because I'm trying to flex on you guys. It's not trying to, I'm the dad, so you have to listen to me, like check me out. No, it's my laws are here to protect you. And that's exactly what we see throughout the Torah. These are instructions and rules to help us, to sustain us. What other loving father wouldn't give his children, rules to follow to help better themselves? And he gave us rules to do better, and he also gave us if we go against his rules, there will be consequences. Hebrews chapter, I think it's chapter 11 or 12, it talks about punishment, but only a loving father would punish their child. A father who doesn't care, or a God who doesn't care, he wouldn't make rules and he wouldn't punish. He'd be like, hey, you do you, have fun.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up like yourself as like saying don't run through there because you might slip and fall and slip and fall. It's essentially what God's doing with the Torah, telling us don't do this because something's going to happen to you. And if you do it, if you do as I say, you'll have this. If you do this, then this is coming to you. And when he says don't eat, for example, pork, for example, when he's saying don't do this, and when you do it, it's not God going right, God has corrected like he himself to like nations. But if you're going to eat something and he says it's bad for you, there's the offshot that you basically could get multiple sclerosis or heart attacks. And it's not like God going, right, I did that to you, because it's just literally he said something and then an action comes by disobedience. Like you're saying with the children, don't slide in the thing, because when you fall, it's not like you yourself like push them over when they're sliding, it happens by actions.
It is. I do want to make one quick mention because you kind of brought up the food. It's really funny too with Christians. I feel like is if I tell people, you know what, I'm going to stay away from red meat because I want to be a little slimmer. I want to be more of a vegetarian or vegan diet just to, look a little slimmer. Everyone will praise you for it. Oh, good job. That's hey, that's good for you. You're really working on your health. But as soon as you say that I don't eat pork because the Bible says so, that's, oh, you legalist. Oh, you're trying to earn your salvation with God. Oh, you deny Jesus. Oh, and it's just it's so hypocritical. And I always just bring that up, just because it's just mind blowing to me. You can say that you want to live a certain lifestyle for your own need, and it's fine. But as soon as you say that you're submitting to the Bible, to the Father by His Torah, it's, oh, you're legalist. You're doing this for salvation. It's, blah, blah, blah.
I agree. So I'm going to move on to this one. So I believe, I've already asked that one. What is your view on the Virgin Mary? Do you believe she was a virgin or not? Because this is, from what I've seen, a small portion of like Nazarene people that believe in the Torah that who believe she wasn't. So I was just wondering what your take on that is, and maybe additionally to that, do you believe after, if you believe she was a virgin up to the point of having Jesus, do you think, as some maybe Catholics do, that she was always a virgin?
Boy, are you trying to get me canceled or something? Are you trying to I'm gonna have people with pitchforks outside of my door talking talking about the virgin birth. No. So let me just say, I've heard both arguments. I know exactly what you're talking about. Now, I have tried to examine everything that I can. Here is the hard part. When we look at Alma in the Hebrew versus Betula, where Alma, a lot of the Jews will argue that it strictly means young maiden. It doesn't mean how is it virgin. I hear that argument. However, from the history of the Hebrew, and especially when we look at the Septuagint, when we look at the Septuagint itself, the word that's being used, and I can't remember off the top of my head, for virgin, we see this where Paul uses the same word in Corinthians, where he says to all the married women and the virgin. So if Paul's addressing believers and someone who is married, they've obviously have had sexual relations with the husband. To consummate the marriage, to basically be married, you have to have sex. So when he talks about the married women and the virgins, how Paul uses it, he's talking about the people who have had sex and who have not had sex. That same word is used in the Septuagint in Isaiah 7:14. So me personally, I will just say this to everyone. I do believe in the virgin birth. However, I don't define it how the church has. So when we look at the words, we can always argue with the words. Here's kind of like my point. When I believe it's 7:11 of Isaiah, it talks about a sign will be given to you. Okay. When it talks about a young woman, it's talking about a woman between, it could be like 12 to 16, right? The woman would give birth. If it's just a woman giving birth, we see this is very common. This is not a weird thing. We see a lot of girls around the age of 14, like getting married and having kids. I know it's weird nowadays, mostly people give birth between 20 and 25. But when they were younger, that was the common thing. So for that to be a sign, I think that's a very weak sign. I think that if a woman did give birth who was a virgin, would be more of like whoa, how is this possible? In the book of Job, it talks about how what clean thing can come from the unclean? Absolutely nothing. So I think if that's the mindset that nothing clean can come from unclean, yet something does, well, that's a pretty big sign in my take. Now, I do want to mention this. Just because if Jesus was born of a virgin, does that make him God? Does that make him divine? Does this make him God? Like whatever? Absolutely not. And that's also part of the mindset that plays with me. And I feel like the church has taken that idea and just ran with it and said like, oh, well, he's God because he was born like this. When we look at how Adam was born or created, it was a supernatural thing. God took the dust of the earth, breathed life into him, and he became a walking person. Was Adam divine? No. Was Adam God? No. So a miraculous creation, birth, whatever, can happen without Jesus being God at the same time, as we see with Adam. That's kind of the conclusion I've come to. Paul makes a lot of connections between Adam and Yeshua, where he says he's the second Adam. The first was a life-giving spirit. The second, so there's a lot of comparisons that's being used. Also, Jesus is called the Son of God. In the book of Luke, it says that Adam was also called the Son of God. So It's almost like both of them had a miraculous coming into the world, right? A creation, born, whatever. But still, that doesn't make him God. It would just make him a perfect human being. And I think that's just it.
Yeah. So add a little bit there from just my perspective. There's a word as well, I think it's in Luke 1. I can't remember which verse, I think it might be 34, 36. It's actually more than just one word, it's a sentence, how Mary responds, how is this going to be? Because I do not know a man. And obviously, we see when Adam and Eve, when Adam knew his wife, she conceived. To me, it kind of indicates that she's saying that she hasn't physically known someone to have that, which indicates obviously if she hasn't known a person how much will have a child, she would be either a virgin at that point, or it's been too long after that now she hasn't known a man for that case to happen. I'm not sure if you want to respond to that. If not, we'll continue.
No, absolutely. Also, so just a quick little spoiler alert. I'm actually doing a video and I'm working on it. There's a lot in it that I'm including. That's why it's taking a little longer. As I'm doing a video talking about the two genealogies that we seen in Matthew and Luke, and I'm doing a comparison video, talking about them, looking at the history, stuff like this. One of them that's very interesting is when we look at the pseudo gospel of James. I believe it's the first, or I think it's, it might be the second century writing. But it also does talk about a virgin birth. Now, people who argue virgin birth, they will say that this came up after the talk of the whole virgin birth happened. There's really not evidence of that. So again, and exactly like what you said here, I think it's really hard to get around that she says, I have not known a man. It's really hard to get around that. One theory I've heard, and some of my friends hold to this, is true, she was a virgin. However, the Holy Spirit took the seed of Joseph and implanted it in her. Is it that? I still don't think so. This is also not a hill I'm willing to die on, just because we're talking about something that was divinely intervened. Either if it was that, or if the seed was taken from Joseph. I mean, it's something from God, right? And part of one of the Apocrypha books in Second Esdras talks about how Ezra wants to know of God, and one of the angels gives him riddles to follow. He can't solve the riddles, and he says, well, these are things you have experienced. So how can you understand something that you have not experienced when you can't even answer things that you have experienced, right? So whenever we try to understand God or his ways, I think it's perfectly okay for us to say, we don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And this is where I think faith definitely does play a role. I would agree with you, though. I do believe it was a virgin birth, but also there's a whole lot of different avenues you can take with this.
So the next question is, what is your personal belief relating to associating to what you would consider false teachers, like, for example, breaking bread with, I don't know, let's use Trinitarians in this case, how they've got like a Trinitarian God. What's your view on kind of like breaking bread with them and actually like congregating in relation to like God, shall we say?
So normally I really don't mind. And I'm only saying this because I kind of view myself as an individual who has tested everything, and I'm not going to be easily swayed. I'm not a new believer in this. I've been doing this for almost a decade, about 9.5 years. And so I feel strong, and I kind of like hanging out with Trinitarians and the fact that I can question them on some of their beliefs, or just anyone who just has a different belief than me. Doesn't necessarily have to be a Trinitarian. And I can question them. And I've had good responses, and I've had negative responses. And I almost think, like with Yeshua, he purposely went out to ask people to repent, and he also questioned people, right? He always had a response. You can argue that he was the ultimate apologist. So I think it's okay as a new believer, though. What it's going to turn into is like that old saying: you don't talk about politics or religion uh, when you're with people. But as soon as someone knows that you don't believe in the Trinity, especially that where they hold so dear, it's going to be a fight. So to answer your question, if you're a new believer, I would probably be just be careful and just study everything out for yourself, because people are just going to try to persuade you one way or the other. If you are a firm believer and you've been doing this for a while, you feel like you are a mature one, then sure.
I would pretty much agree with what you're saying there. I mean, I think more so for the young in faith, I would say they shouldn't unless they're with like someone that they're kind of under the wing of, just so that they can ask. If even if you're going to like have a conversation, at least then they can ask the questions to that person. But
Right.
for people that have been doing this for a long time, um, obviously you're going to have these discussions. I mean, even Yeshua was debating, or in some translations, arguing with I believe it was the Pharisees when the scribe came up and asked them what the greatest commandment was. So there is still that kind of coming together, and obviously he congregated with like he hung around with what they would say were sinners, like tax collectors and so on and so forth. So I would agree that engaging in chatting and dialogue and stuff isn't necessarily bad, but there is, to me, a degree of being careful in relation to the congregation itself. Do not be of the world, but be a light to the world. How can you be a light to the world if you're not actually engaging with them? But I think it's more specific to being separate as a congregation. Does not negate that you can't actually, you know,
Yeah,
chat.
yeah. Out of every congregation, it's important to come together, and have your beliefs set. I'll even argue that I go to a MJA, is a Messianic Jewish Alliance of America. They are Trinitarians, and I've had discussions with my rabbi, and I told him I don't believe in the Trinity, stuff like that. And he's had questions, but he loves having me there. He loves the questions I bring up, and I think he has respect for me too, because I don't go there bashing people for their beliefs. We're all here to learn and to study and to just better ourselves at the end of the day. So I definitely have a lot of respect for him and for what he does. And also, we're not here to talk about the Trinity. We're not here to discuss it. It's a belief they hold, but we're here to talk about the Torah portion, or the Haftorah, or the Brit Hadashah portions, and that's it. And we apply to that. So I'm cool with that. They're cool with that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's your belief on if Yehoshua Jesus pre-existed or not? So was he like a part of the plan of God, or did he literally pre-exist as a person, or do you not believe either or, but like God's plan was about the person that then came into existence? What's your view on that?
This is actually something I struggled with for a while. I see both arguments, and I've actually kind of come into something I think like in the middle. So did Jesus pre-exist as the person that we have now? Absolutely not. For one, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom. So Jesus is not sitting up there with the Father, hanging out, anything like that. Um, Now, did he pre-exist as a spirit? Like, was there a spirit of Messiah? I actually think yes. I think that it was. I have no problem with believing that Yeshua was a pre-existent, and in that nature. In that nature, because we do see from the Targums, it's very interesting. So in the Septuagint and the Masoretic text, it says that God did everything. However, when we look at the Targums, which is the Aramaic version of the Bible, specifically Targum Neophiti and Targum Jerusalem, it actually says, with wisdom, God created the world through his memora, right? Through his word. And going back to John chapter 1, it's interesting because John alludes that nothing has come into being unless by the word, or the logos, which he then associates it with Yeshua. So kind of going back to the whole virgin birth, I think this is how it all kind of came about, where he was born of a virgin. I have no problem saying that. But he was like Adam. He was a perfect human being without corruption. Up into his baptism, the Holy Spirit came down, which I believe was the spirit of Mashiach. Messiah, then it came upon him. Then we see him actually doing miracles, him going out promoting his ministry, stuff like this. It wasn't until his baptism and the Spirit came upon him, though. So I believe it's totally logical for him to be like a second Adam, for him to be born like that, and then the Spirit to come on him, the Spirit of Messiah, Mashiach, in a sense. So I think that's totally logical. And also, when we look at the Midrash Rabbah concerning, what is it, Genesis 1-2, I believe, of how the Spirit hovered over the water, the rabbis, sages, and elders all actually say that was the Spirit of Messiah that was present at creation. So I definitely do take more of a Jewish approach to it. I don't follow everything. There's some stuff I disagree with, but I think it is totally logical for the Spirit of the Messiah to pre-exist, but not the person.
I would agree to a degree. I think me personally, I'll be kind of brief on it. I think the Spirit of the Messiah is the Spirit of God, but it's a one that's set aside because everyone gets like gifts from that Spirit. So you'd have like patience, wisdom, knowledge, and it's kind of like the law of Moses when people say like the law of Moses, but it's literally God. It's his law, but it's given to Moses, so it's also considered as his. That's how I would see it. I obviously personally don't believe in a pre-existence, in a self, but I do believe in God's wisdom and his plan. Everything in the Old Testament is about the Messiah. I'm not sure if you want to add to that, maybe, so I can go on to question 6.
No, I pretty much agree too. I think when we're talking about something so specific like this, wordplay is very important, and that is a very hard distinction to make. Again, though, this is not a hill I'm not willing to die on. I might be wrong, you know.
I can see it as well. I wouldn't say it to like a brother or sister that believes he literally like a Jehovah's Witness. I think they believe he was like an angel. I can see kind of verses that are almost explicit that he does exist beforehand. I've got other verses why, and I don't want to go into too much about me. I'll happily do an interview if you want to ask me the questions on your channel sometime. But I can see why they would come to the conclusion in relation to a person literally. So I wouldn't say it like this is a salvation issue. You're going to burn in hell because you believe Jesus pre-exists.
Right.
I wouldn't go out on the limb and say that, because if I'm judging something that is almost indicative, would I be then judged for literally saying that they're going to hell when it's at one point I believe Jesus was literally the light, like literally the light is the first thing of creation, but in Genesis like a literal light. I think there's a foreshadowing, but yeah, I can see that. I was at one point of a pre-existing thing, so I wouldn't hold that against anyone that does,
Yeah. Now, with that light, though, it is interesting because we know it wasn't the sun or the moon. So what was this light specifically? But then Trinitarians really have to wrestle with it because it says that the light was created or brought forth, right? So if Jesus is eternal, has always existed, everything like that, then you really have a problem if you're going to call him the light in Genesis, because it was created, brought forth, set up, whatever word you want to use, which denounces it as eternal, but more aligns it up with everlasting, which is a view I actually hold. And that's something I've talked about many times too, the difference between eternal and everlasting.
No, I agree. I don't want to add too much to this because this it could go into like a 3-hour chat, but
right.
I can also see just quickly, I can also see in relation to that the 6-day creation is a literal event, but when he's speaking of these things, I can also see it marrying up, and I'm not fully on, like to the fullness of how every point aligns with this creation, but there's the spiritual creation, so there's possibilities of like literally in a plan, or if he was literally there. So that's why I don't want to like, I wouldn't judge a brother that's keeping Torah, believes in God, but me believe that. So I think it would just be wrong personally. But so the next question, this one's I've got like a few things. I don't know why it's long, but it says, do you agree with Torah observance, Torah observers keeping Christmas or other festivals of the nations around them? And then it's got like kind of an addition, just saying, I will say that I personally think that it would be a sign of weakness to bend to the world's ways, trying to bring them down. Like the world's trying to bring the Torah believers down, to kind of fit into a narrative. But what would your conclusion, what would your belief be in relation to Torah observers like keeping festivals of the nations?
So I definitely there's a double-edged sword to this, and let me explain. Let me explain one side. I think it's okay if you're new to Torah and you're kind of struggling with it, your family's doing this, come at your own pace. Come into Torah at your own pace. Me, however, I jumped right in because I was like, oh my gosh, I should be doing this, and I jumped right into it. You know, it was not hard for me. But for some people it is, and I honestly think it's okay. You come in at your own speed. I don't think we should hold anyone accountable. What I am irritated with, and what I do completely disagree with, is especially this happened last year of 2023 around the Christmas time, where a lot of people are saying that it's okay to celebrate Christmas because we're just celebrating Jesus' birthday. Because, you know, Jesus had to have been born, whether virgin or not, he was born. So they use that as an excuse, and that's just completely not approved by the Father. And we know this because of Deuteronomy 12:29-30. In fact, let me just read it for everyone, because not many people know this verse, but it's very strong, and no one from that side of Torah observance aisle has ever answered me this. So starting from Deuteronomy chapter 12, I'm going to read 29-31. The Lord your God will cut off before the nations you are about to invade and dispose. But when you have driven them out and settled in their land, and after they have been destroyed before you, be careful not to be ensnared by inquiring about their gods, saying, quote, how do these nations serve their gods? We will do the same. We must not worship the Lord, or Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, your God, in their way, because in worshiping their gods, they do all kinds of detestable things the Lord, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, hates. It's how do we get over this? You can't. As a mature Torah observer, we are commanded not to do this, not to inquire how they worship their God, and we will do the same. One of the arguments is with tree worship. Where a lot of them will say, well, the tree worship didn't happen until after Christians started doing it and the pagans copied them. We have way too much evidence of tree worship going all the way back to Mesopotamia, to Egypt, to Assyria. It's all there. Now, and another argument that they make is even concerning Jeremiah chapter 10. Now, is Jeremiah chapter 10 literally talking about the Christmas tree? No, of course not. It's still involving the worship of a tree, whether that's an idol, whether that's shaved down, no matter what. My response to that is, if I have a pentagram, right, instead of me having books over here, if I had a pentagram that was upside down that had a Satan's face in it, right? My argument's going to be, well, is this what they're talking about in the book of Jeremiah or in Judges where we shouldn't worship other gods? This specific logo? No, of course not. But does that mean that's okay? Absolutely not. God tells us how he wants to be worshiped. God tells us on what days he wants to be worshiped. He tells us how to do these things. It's very simple. As we talked about earlier, I love Milwaukee power tools. If someone was to give me a DeWalt drill, I would just throw it out or I would just donate it. I would have no use for it. Like seriously, I would have no use for a DeWalt power tool. It's not something that would please me, that would make me happy, that would make me money. It's not something that I can use. However, if someone was to get me a Milwaukee drill or anything Milwaukee, I can now use it because I have the platform, right? You know what I like. If you want to get me a gift, it would be Milwaukee. Simple as that. It wouldn't be.
Is that you calling that for one?
Yeah.
Is that you calling that for? If you want to get a present.
Yeah, hey guys, perm's coming up, so no, but it's very obvious. Or let's say, for example, if my wife loves roses, but she only likes roses, right? I'm going to give my wife roses. I'm not going to get her other flowers because she doesn't like them. She doesn't approve of them. Or let's say her favorite sandwich is something from Subway. I'm not going to go to another restaurant to get her a sandwich. I'm going to go to Subway to get her something she likes. The Lord tells us worship that he approves of, that he likes. It's as simple as that. Also, concerning the whole Christmas thing, it frustrates me. It frustrates the living crap out of me. Where if you are serious about the Bible, you would look up about Zechariah being from the vision of Abijah. That should question you of, what does that mean? I want to find more out about this. Go to Chronicles, find out how David selected 24 people from the tribe of Levi, set them up in different divisions, had it. Then you're able to calculate it. John was born 6 months from there, right? And from the 6th month, they went to visit her. This is obviously now in December. Women are pregnant for 9 months. 9 months going all the way around. Now we're in September. Or Sukkot, right? And John 1:14 says, Jesus lived among us. That word lived is actually tabernacled, or the sukkah, or for Sukkot. It all lines up to where... It all lines up, and it's so obvious. But again, people don't want to read their Bibles. They want to go to church and say, Jesus loves you, have a nice day. Cool. Once saved, always saved. That belief. I can do whatever I want, not lose my salvation. That's not true. That's not true. We see people in God's grace, and then we see people leave because they disobeyed, but then we also see them do a teshuvah and come back to him. So he definitely has ways that we want to please him, but sadly the church has said, this is dumb, this is boring, we're going to come up with our own cool things. And that's why Christmas and Easter are as popular as they are.
I do agree with a lot you're saying, but just recently, just there, like when I'm thinking, I know kind of personally, basically a brother that's like struggled with certain things, that's new in faith, that was doing things not necessarily like bad or anything, but kind of things in relation to like worldly things, and then certain like groups that he would hang about with, and he didn't want to lose that. Then because he's still associating to that kind of lifestyle, it's maybe it's taking them out from a congregation because it's hard to give that up. I do agree, however, in relation to we shouldn't, as believers, judge people if they're keeping Christmas still with the family, especially if they're like younger or living with the family, because it's theirs. You're supposed to honor your mother and father. Don't make abuse and stuff to them. But I think it can, to a degree, be almost dangerous for people that no longer live with the mothers or fathers that could kind of step out of that. But I think it comes down to how good of a kind of a support network that person has. If that person's then left, like they're only able to congregate at a certain period of time, and then they've got no one, it's going to be a lot harder for them if they haven't got someone that's there to kind of cover them with the wing and protect them and help them through them things. So I think it's a little bit of a touchy subject, but I can see reasons for new, like, Acts 15, to give them these four things, new converts, because they will learn over time, which goes in alignment with the whole a good support network that on the Sabbath they hear continuously, then they can grow. So I wouldn't make a judgment on people doing it, especially if they don't have a good support network, but they should have that. I'm not sure if you want to respond to that before I move on to
No, I'll simply respond with, no one gets mad at a third grader who can't do calculus, right? But a teacher would get mad at a high school student who can't comprehend that 10 plus 20 is 30.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I never thought of say it too quickly for you. I've never thought of that like argument. If you know something and you're going against it, then yeah, I agree with that. So we're on to the questions relating to like the debates and stuff. And the first question I've got for you is, how do you feel, or how did you feel before, during, and after your first debate that you had?
The very first debate I had was with the guy named Brian Garcia, and I'm, it is interesting because I'm still friends with Brian. I have a lot of respect for Brian, and I have a lot of respect for someone who is willing to come on to YouTube and do a debate. I see a lot of cowards make videos and who will hang out in the comment section, and I don't have respect for those types of people. If you have a problem with me, come have a debate with me one-on-one, and instead of doing these stupid little arguments in the comment section. That's just unfruitful. So yeah, my first debate was with Brian Garcia, and it was moderated by Seamus McGowan on Alternate Media's YouTube channel. And the discussion was about who is the angel of the Lord, or is Jesus the angel of the Lord? Brian held the positive, affirmative position. I held the negative. I thought it went very well. I thought I had really good arguments. I was really excited about it. And it was cool too, because when you're debating someone, they're there right in front of you. They have to answer your questions. You have to answer theirs, which it makes it fair, and it makes it a very good learning experience for people to hear and understand. I did get a lot of pushback from a lot of people on TikTok, which I was shocked about. Was a lot of people were disappointed that I did a debate, because a lot of people were just kind of saying how debates, God hates debates, God doesn't want you to do debates, stuff like this. However, I believe it's Acts chapter 17, verse 2, where it says that Paul argued with the Pharisees and Sadducees for 3 Sabbaths, right? Concerning things from the scriptures. So if we're having a heated argument about did Jesus wear sandals or not, something stupid, well, that's not a fruitful debate. Now, if we're actually having something about that is considered very valuable, whether it's something from a theological standpoint or something in the Bible, sure, debates are very good, and debates are very healthy, because at the end of the day, you're not trying to convince the other person, you're trying to convince the audience. So after that first one, I felt good. I was able to do a second one, and then I actually moderated a debate too. So I felt good. I love doing them, and I have no problem. They're definitely a lot better than trying to have a discussion on TikTok, which is just, I know I've already said this. It's just become a giant echo chamber, just a giant echo chamber, and no one really wants to learn. So if anyone has a problem with me or wants to debate me, my messages are open. I don't stay up to date on who I follow, but hit me up if you want to have a debate on something. I'm more than welcome to do it.
And yeah, I would agree. Even relation Mark 12, verse 28 to 34, Jesus argued or debated with the Pharisees as well. So not only Paul, but Joshua himself um, debated with them. So debates on bad. It's just, I guess, how you yourself go about doing it. Do you know what I mean? If you're going into, like you said, about arguing with, like, did he have a sandal or whatever, like, is that in the Bible? And what kind of sandals? Did he have Nike sandals on? Or, you know what I mean?
Like, he had the
But,
Jordans,
yeah.
Jordan
But
zeros.
yeah, I think it's, if it's on edifying topics, I think then it shouldn't be frowned upon. But if you're just
Yeah.
arguing for argument's sake, then obviously you don't want to be doing that. The next question is, what do you prefer, actually debating or hosting the debates?
Man, definitely debating. Moderating was so difficult during the last debate that I moderated on my YouTube channel. It was so difficult. It was so hard because I had to keep it inside me. I'm kind of sitting back like this, and I'm just trying to cover my mouth because how badly I want to argue and did something. Where if this person wasn't able to do something, I was like, oh, you could have brought this up though. This would have helped your argument. And I'm just sitting there, you know.
Yeah.
But I moderated that debate because I was friends with both people. Both people felt comfortable me moderating. So that's why I did it. I am open to moderating. I definitely want my channel to be a channel where if two people have an argument on something, they want to come on here. Anything Jewish or Bible related, Christian
Mhm.
related, I have no problem hosting it. And I would love to. Like these open discussions and especially taking questions from the audience is so important. And it's so helpful to really help people if they believe one thing or the other, to help sway them, to help it's so important. But going out there and doing it, that's me.
Mm.
Sitting back, it was hard. It was so hard.
Yeah, I think people should check out your channel as well, because I think that was a decent debate.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think a lot more people need, and the link, by the way, for anyone that's watching, is in the description. But we need more biblical Unitarian, like, I know like titles is a big thing, but I mean we need more, like, should you say, of the true congregation to also host these debates, because a lot of them that are big and named are Trinitarians. It would be good to have like a little bit of a mix up, either Trinitarians or Muslims that kind of host them. It'd be nice to have. And again, you've done a superb job on the last debate. Um, People should check that out and check the debates out. In fact, seeing that I've got a debate, as you know, we're talking about um, possibly in May, but I don't want to say too much on it because obviously it hasn't came when we've done possibly like promoting of it. But you guys need to also subscribe to him, because that's where it's initially going to be anyway, if we get around to doing it. So go there and support him. On to the last question, and it is, what was it that made you think of hosting debates?
I think there aren't many channels out there who are as open as me. There's so many Catholic channels, Trinitarian channels, and like kind of Protestant and like that, and they pick and choose who they want to bring onto their channel because they don't want to bring someone on who can pose a threat to their own theology. Um, Me, I don't care if I'm wrong on something. I want people to show me. I struggled with if Jesus pre-existed or not. I struggled with if is Jesus Michael or not. I struggled with is Jesus the angel of the Lord or not. And I've come to my conclusions after hearing people argue. And I feel like it is so important to allow people speak to do this. So I again, anyone who has a debate or an argument that they want to have with another person, if it's concerning anything from a Jewish standpoint or anything from a Christian standpoint with the church fathers, the Bible, anything like that, I have no problem hosting. And if I believe one way and you're able to come on and argue another person to persuade me into a different belief, then I'm all for it. If I'm wrong, I want to be, I want to know why I'm wrong. But I feel like there really is no one out there who will allow just almost anyone to debate. And like you said, we are in the works of talking to you and the person that you want to have a debate with. If anything, it might be possibly April, just because I'm so busy with work and I have to move my schedule around.
Yeah.
But I would love to have you on my channel, and have the other person that we're thinking of. And I disagree with this person, but I don't care. If this person has good arguments, then he should be able to present them, whether they're good or bad. Everyone should be able to let their voice be heard, and that's what I really, really, really want to show people.
In relation to the debate, anytime, anywhere for me, because I'm pretty much, I've got no like schedule. So if you need to change the date even sooner or back, feel free to just tell me a date, because I don't have like a scheduled time when I've got nothing really planned, like where I would have to say, oh, I can't do that. But yeah, just let me know. So I'm out of questions. However, if there's anything you would like to maybe see a thought of that you would like to, in relation to the questions that we've already talked about, or even just want to see anything further you want to add, you're more welcome to. If there's nothing more, feel free to plug the channel, because again, there's a link in the description. Click say more. His channel is, I believe it's amazing. You deserve a lot more subscribers, and I would like the people on this community to go over and check it out. I've already talked about how your videos are a little bit more extensive than mine, wherefore mine's like, I just like going straight for the jugular when it's against Trinity and stuff. But, the link is there for Wilwaukee's channel. So if you've got anything that you would like maybe to talk about in relation to questions or anything further.
Not really. I think I hit everything. You allowed me to elaborate on everything I wanted to. I just want to say, Taylor, thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. You allowing me to come on and to talk about these things. These are like some deep topics that definitely need to be talked about and expounded upon. But again, a lot of people are afraid and nervous to discuss and argue these things. So I just honestly, I'm very thankful that you wanted to have me on to ask me some questions. It's an honor. It's a privilege. I'm very happy. I feel blessed, and I do have to say, I have someone I need to thank. I need to thank my lovely, darling wife, Tatiana. She has taken the kids out of the house whenever I do interviews or debates or moderations. She always takes the kids out. She does something fun with them. And she is an amazing wife, and I would not be the person I am today if it wasn't for her. So I wanted to say thank you, honey, and I love you very much.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And again, like I can't, like, even if there's slight differences like we've talked about, I don't think there's really much differences in what we've talked about anyway. But if there was, I still consider you your brother. And people are going to have a little bit of differences until the kingdom comes, when we are in the kingdom. It says Jeremiah 31 verse 31 to 35 about the new covenant, where people then won't be teaching each other because everyone will know. So it was a pleasure having you on here, brother. Again, Wilwaukee's on TikTok. I think you should keep the TikTok up, even if it's like to do like chats and promotion and bringing people over to the YouTube. that's what I initially do as well. Anyway, in any good chats you do have on the lives, use them on your you know, you can download the live streams anyway, and you can post them up. It'll give you some content. But already the content you've got on and some of the shorts, I think people will love your air shorts. Go over to Wilwaukee's channel. Again, link is in the description, and support. So brilliant.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
No worries. God bless. If you want to jump off, I'll do a little outro. And again, with this video, if you want to rip it off YouTube, I can get it downloaded. It's been an hour and 30, so I don't know how I'll send it. But I can give you that, and you can upload it on your channel as well, give you more content, or even review or break down some points that you want to do. It's all good.
No, yeah, thank you. I will.
No worries. God bless, bro. Be well.
God bless.
God bless. And Shabbat Shalom. For
Right.
when Shabbat Shalom happens.
Shabbat Shalom.
No worries. God bless. So that was a great interview with Brother Wilwaukee. Again, guys, check out the link. I should have had this this banner. I forgot to put it up because I was muted at the start, but it wasn't that long. You can see here, youtube.com/@Wilwaukee right here, just scrolling along. Check him out. You can also check out the link, which is already in the description as well. Beautiful conversation. And I don't think there was really much in relation to differences, and whatever differences there weren't, like salvation issues. I would happily consider Wilwaukee as my brother in Messiah, Yehoshua HaMashiach. Again, if you enjoyed this, I've got itchy nose now. If you've enjoyed this this video, subscribe to YouTube, Stand on Scripture or Wilwaukee. Hit the notification bell, select all notifications, strike the like, share the content, and all of the good stuff. You can leave your views and opinions down in the comment section below, and also check the links in the description to my other things like Discord and such, as well as the link to Wilwaukee's channel if you want to check him out. And Shabbat Shalom, peace and blessings be to those that are sincere in their seeking. And hopefully, if you have any, if there's anyone there that would maybe select Brother Wilwaukee to host some debates, he said, if it's in relation to those topics, just hit him up, and we'll see how that goes. Thank you very much for watching today's live stream. Until next time, guys, I will see you in the next one. God bless.